This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you as always from the Southern Command Post of the X-Zone Broadcast Network down in sunny Florida. And folks, I want to take just a quick second to reach out to our friends, our families, our colleagues, and everyone in the areas that were ravaged by Hurricane Harvey. Folks, let us just know that our prayers, our thoughts are with you. And just like always, Americans will come together, pull together, put aside our differences to help those of our countrymen in need. So just hang in there, folks. We're with you, and God bless you all. Now, to get on to a little bit more of a lighter subject, tonight's guest, my guests tonight are MaryJo Pfister and Greg Bush from Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations. And tonight we're going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and that's para-unity, paranormal unity. Greg and MaryJo have been conducting paranormal research and investigations for approximately 8 years, and they are one of the leaders in South Florida in promoting the concept of paranormal unity and collaboration. They, along with my team, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, are co-sponsoring this year's Treasure Coast Para-Unity Conference in Fellesmere, Florida, November 3rd through the 5th. MaryJo is a retired social studies teacher, and Greg is a retired financial advisor and golf pro, and both are well-known professionals in the paranormal research field. Greg, MaryJo, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout.
Hi, Larry. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had you on. Thanks for being here. Just real quick to give my audience an understanding, how did Off the Trails come into being, and how does that relate to your concept, your belief in paranormal unity?
Well, OPI, Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations, began because I have had different experiences throughout my life, and I've always been very interested in the paranormal, especially what happens when you die. And Greg has also been very interested in that. And we just decided to be active and see what we could find out to answer some of the questions that we have. And we started out with Greg and I and our son, Bo, and we've just kind of added to the team ever since.
Mm-hmm. Now, being two of the folks that really began the para-unity movement down here in South Florida, what put you in that direction?
I think so many paranormal teams are going out to do these investigations, and I think we're just sort of reinventing the wheel. And we're all getting a lot of different data, but there's no place to share it. And so we're finding out a lot of the answers, but people aren't able to share what they found out, share their techniques, their experiences. And I think if we do that and work together, as they do in so many other fields, education, medicine, aeronautics, that we'll be able to find some of those answers a lot quicker.
Well, are you saying that there's disagreement among those in the field that are causing this lack of unity?
I think that sometimes people are a little insecure about what they're doing, and maybe ego gets in the way, and it's not necessarily even a deliberate act, but I think people just haven't gotten used to the idea of many of us searching for the same answers.
Well, I find that interesting because wouldn't you agree that because folks for the years that have been involved in the field of paranormal research have kind of almost been considered outcasts, wouldn't you just think it would be naturally expected that we would all stick together and work for the same goal?
Well, you would certainly hope so. And I think a lot of us are. But sometimes when you are an outcast, you get used to keeping things to yourself. And so you don't want to share with other people because you don't want to be criticized or mocked or looked at in some sort of negative way.
You first conducted or had a conference such as this, what, in 2015, I believe?
Yes, I think that's when it was.
How has the concept developed or grown since that very first gathering in 2015?
I think there are more people that are thinking in terms of para-unity. I know there's a lot more people who are at least listening to that concept. And I think slowly we're going to get a lot more investigators to think in terms of para-unity. Let's share what we've experienced. Let's share what we know. Talk about how different types of equipment work. There's so much involved in the whole para-unity. And I think as time goes on, people will see the benefit of sharing that.
Well, I hope so too. And I'm actually seeing, I actually see some other areas that are causing more harm than good. And we're getting ready to take our first break now in just a few seconds. But I want to talk to you about some of the issues that are cropping up, not just among evidence, but amongst people. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Folks, stay with us as we continue this interesting discussion, talk more about paranormal unity in the field. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Hey folks, welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout with my guests tonight, MaryJo Pfister and Greg Bush. We are talking about unity within the field of paranormal research and investigation. And I have Greg and MaryJo that are two of the leaders here in our part of the country in putting some of this together. Guys, let me ask you a question. There's been folks that have taken shots at people in this field for years, calling it pseudoscience. And many times we've done it to ourselves and have allowed us to be put in that spot. But do you see within our field specific disagreements or lack of unity amongst different areas, such as people that have more of a scientific leaning to those that may be more of a medium or sensitive? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think that the two of them go together very well. But yes, I think some people tend to shy away from mediums and sensitives. And I think that's because a lot of people have exploited that Anybody can say, I'm a medium, and tell you something about your past. And there are people who are truly mediums and sensitives and really are able to answer questions.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And that part of the problem I'm seeing, because I'll tell you right up front, I have no problem saying I believe that there are people that have the gift that can see. But the problem is, even the ones that have the gift cannot always be consistent in their stories or their visions, shall we say. And do you think that causes some of a problem within our ranks?
I think it can. Now, we do consult with Terry Reed, who is a psychic medium, and she's the real thing. And she explains it in that the spirits can show themselves to whoever they want to show themselves to, and they may not want to show themselves to her. They may be more interested in somebody else for whatever reason. So it's a gift that she's being given, but that does not make her infallible.
And nobody's infallible, but how do we reach a point when it comes to unity? How do we reach a point where their evidence is considered the same as, say, some sort of scientific, an EVP, for example, a voice that can't be disputed? Where are we going to go to solve that bit of unity issues within our ranks?
But honestly, Larry, I think that we need to, I guess the word is test the mediums and psychics and see how accurate they are compared to EVPs and meter readings and the more scientific. And when we can find that certain mediums are finding the same things themselves that we have found with our meters and our cameras and our recordings, and we get a big enough base, I think that we can then consider that there are mediums who do have that gift and we can work with them. And
well, going beyond mediums now, and that's just one little area in this whole concept of para-unity, because I really firmly believe that until we can reach that level of unity within our field, we're going to have a really tough time bringing those that may doubt or may require more scientific evidence to come into the field, to willingly come into the field and take this seriously. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and I'm wanting to get your opinion on how we as a group can work better together. I mean, I've gone to conferences where people will stand up during evidence reveals and absolutely castigate somebody who's presenting some evidence. Well, that doesn't do a whole lot of good with unity or bringing people into the fold. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. That's totally the opposite. And I think if we have tolerance and understand that we're looking at things from a different perspective, and when people show pictures or have EVPs, I wasn't there when it happened, so I can't verify that that's authentic. But if they're presenting it and I know them to be reliable and honest, then I'm going to accept that evidence. And certainly criticizing somebody's evidence in front of a group of people can be very humiliating and possibly turn that person away from researching the paranormal. Okay,
well, kind of moving a little bit on from there then, what do you consider other areas of off the beaten trail investigation, such as cryptozoology, UFOs? Do you consider that to be part of the paranormal field?
Oh, it absolutely is. Absolutely. Time travel, parallel dimensions, aliens, those are all parts of the paranormal. And it's interesting how sometimes people don't look at it that way and kind of put the paranormal in this little narrow, it's only ghosts and spirits. But there's so much more to it than that.
How would you connect them to our conference, for example?
Well, in our conference, we are having Terry Ling come in from MUFON, and she's going to be talking about extraterrestrials and aliens. We have Rob Robertson coming in, who is known as the Legend Tripper. And, he's been there before, and he has talked about cryptozoology and several other things, the singing stones in Pennsylvania, Loch Ness. So we've got those topics. We have the Yanceys coming in to talk about cleansing, which is part of what we do as paranormal investigators. We've had demonologists speak to us before. So there's so many aspects of the paranormal. We're trying to bring in topics from all the different aspects. And of course, we can't do every single one for one conference. But as the conferences go on, we can be bringing these threads together and weaving a whole cloth.
Well, you mentioned some great aspects of the conference and the different areas that are going to be examined dealing with the paranormal. But when we start talking about unity, I gotta ask you about MUFON, for example. It's not a secret that MUFON is going through a really, for lack of a better term, an upheaval right now in their ranks, and it has to do with unity. Are you familiar with what's going on there at all?
Very little, Larry, to be honest with you, very little. But I think with unity, whether it's with MUFON or with paranormal investigators, or the people who were studying the skunk ape and Bigfoot and Nessie. Unity is unity no matter where it is. And if we can't share and accept opinions and be constructive in our criticism, then we're never going to get there. And
so go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say the one motto that we keep going back to is, it's amazing how much can be accomplished if no one cares who gets the credit.
I absolutely agree. So the issue here is communications. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's communicating. Yes. And people doing active listening instead of just waiting for another person to stop talking so they can say what they want to say.
What benefits do you see? And how to put this? I'm not saying we should all be in the same family, because let's face it, those that study the UFO phenomenon take different tracks than those that perhaps do cryptozoology. But
correct.
How do you see us bringing everybody together? How to put this? How do you see improving the communications between the fields, and do you think that's going to help with the overall unity? Now, it sounds like a simple question, but it's not, because we're dealing with egos and points of view. So how realistic do you think that is?
Well, it is a complex question. And I think the first goal that we have to have is understanding and helping people to understand that we're all under this umbrella of unity, whether it's ghosts or aliens or whatever else it might be. And Paul and Ben Eno talk about parallel dimensions. And all of this is all under the same umbrella. So we're all into the paranormal. And whether we're going in the ghost spirit direction or not, still everything that we find can be put into a knowledge base.
Okay. Well, I guess where I'm drawing this all into is I see one common issue, and that's the human ego.
Yes.
We can't even agree what a ghost is.
No, we can't, but go on.
But if we can't agree simply in our little section of the paranormal world, if we cannot all come to an agreement on what a ghost is, how can we expect to come together as a unified front to seek out and find credible evidence to prove the unknown? How can we even get there?
I think an open mind is very important. And what a ghost is, it may be more than just one. It might have more than one definition. Mm-hmm. So we're thinking a ghost is probably someone who has died no longer has the body, but they're still an intelligent being.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is that or whether a ghost is a person in another dimension, I think more research will help us determine whether it is one or the other or even both.
Okay.
So it's research.
Okay.
Sharing the research.
And where are we going with the research? And that's the next big question. Where are we taking research to? When are we as groups going to get away from just having the thrill of going out and hearing the EVP or the thump in the middle of the night, and actually start researching and collecting the data in order to prove concepts? Because it seems to me that there's too many folks out there now that they're doing it for the thrill and not doing it for the scientific research end of it.
I agree with you there. I think a lot of people are going for the thrill. They want to be scared.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, that's something you can do if that's what you want to do. But I think the really serious researchers, like your group, my group, and a lot of the other groups that we know, I think we are collecting data and we are forming theories as to what ghosts are, how they see, how they feel. They don't have a body, so how are they hearing us? How are they seeing us? And I think we're all, I hope, working towards that goal of getting all the research and being able to start formulating real theories about what happens and whether ghosts are just one thing or whether they're multiple beings.
Well, and I agree, but I don't know that we've gotten to that answer yet, or even in this conversation, I don't know that we've even gotten to the point where we can talk about where the evidence, what we're going to do with the evidence. At any rate, we're getting ready to take our next breaks here, so stay with us, folks. We're going to continue this conversation. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hey folks, we're back here on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, MaryJo Pfister and Greg Bush, and we're talking about the field of paranormal research investigations and the unity of. And I think one of the biggest problems that we're finding out there is there's so many groups, there are so many individuals out there doing so many different things that we've not yet found. Maybe we found a common ground, we just have not found a common answer, and that's kind of where we're going today with our conversation on paranormal unity. MaryJo, do you see, there's been a lot of bigger groups out there. Obviously, a lot of them were born after the TV shows became popular in the early part of the 2000s. Do you see a change in that now with groups, maybe groups getting smaller? Do you see groups getting bigger? Do you see people maybe getting less interested?
I don't think they're getting less interested. It seems like every season there's new paranormal programs on TV. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're getting less interested. I think there's probably more groups forming because of the popularity of the TV shows.
Okay, but what do you see these newer? Where do you see these newer groups form? When they form, what are they doing? Are they becoming more proficient in the research area? Is it more thrill seekers? What do you think?
Well, my opinion right now is that it's probably some thrill seekers at this point because there's so many of those programs on TV where there's evil spirits and there's demons and people want to go and get the thrill.
Mm-hmm.
But to seriously investigate, I think one of the things that we need is the history.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. There's a lot of groups like ours and yours and others that are gathering great evidence, but that evidence really doesn't mean anything unless you study the history of the investigation you're investigating. You could get 5 great EVPs. What is the relevance of those EVPs to you're doing there? What that location meant in the past.
But, and I totally agree, Greg, and that's something that's oftentimes lost. And one reason why I think the concept of bringing people together to talk about our field is important, and that area is history. I think you hit a very important point there. To be a good paranormal investigator, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, you've got to love history. And you don't understand what it is you're working with unless you know the history. So I agree. That's a major portion of what we're doing, and something I think in the conference or any conferences that are bringing groups together, they need to stress the importance of history. So
Absolutely. As an example, we did a investigation of a little cemetery, and the obelisk said the word quarantine.
Mhm.
Okay, that's cool. All right. So historically, what does that mean? Well, I researched the cemetery, and there had been around 1900 an outbreak of measles, which at that time could be deadly.
Mhm.
And so the word quarantine now means something. There's a story that we can start to put together.
Okay. Well, and there's absolutely no question about that. But getting back to where I was at a couple of minutes ago with the TV shows and the differences in the groups, do you think the newer groups are understanding that concept, or do you think that they're following the shows? I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to mention names of the shows because there's several of them out there now that are not helping our cause because they're taking kind of a silly bend on what paranormal research and investigation is. Do you see these new groups focusing on the history as we were just discussing, or do you see these newer groups spending more time with just the silly thrills? And if that is the case, how do we bring them into the fold and get them refocused?
I think that many of the groups are going in for the fun. I think that's what they're seeing on TV. It's fun and not really looking at what you're actually doing. You're going into a site and you're communicating with you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going in just for the fun and you're not focusing on this as a science, which is what we're trying to do. And maybe those groups don't need to be brought into the fold. I don't know. Maybe they're happy doing what they're doing, and that's not what we're doing. It's a different side.
Okay. Then what can we do better? What can we do better? Because until this field is taken seriously, I don't see us advancing. So what can we do better, and how does Para-Unity help us reach that goal?
Para-Unity is going to help us pool our resources, share information, and instead of going into the same site 100 times and learning the same things, if we can share what spirits that we are finding there and then build on that. So instead of 25 groups going somewhere and finding out that there's a spirit there named Margie, can we move on from finding out what this spirit's name is and try to find out some other things about her?
Okay. All right. How do we convince people to do that? How do we convince groups to do that?
Well, I think having conferences like we're doing is a big step in the right direction.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. By us being role models and sharing what we have with other groups. I don't mind sharing my information. And if we can find something really breakthrough, if I've contributed to it, that's great. You don't have to give me all the credit. And I think if a lot of us would consider that, well, we're part of it, we don't have to be the name in front, because the person in front has a whole lot of people behind that built that knowledge for them.
Well, and that's exactly what I was wanting to hear. There's one big problem that I see, and it's a natural part of the human animal, and that's ego. I certainly have seen it in law enforcement over the years, although I think that we've turned a corner and gotten much better, but it's always mine, mine, mine. I'm not going to give it up because I'm the one that found it, and I'm not going to let anybody else get credit for it.
Yes.
And that's got to change. And that's what I was wanting to hear in regards to the goal of para-unity. And that's the leaving the egos at the door. Let's get together. Let's share information. Let's share training. Let's share data. And let's work for the common good.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm starting to hear from you. And that's what I envision. How are we going to do that, MaryJo and Greg? How are we going to get people to realize that we've got to share? And also, if somebody presents evidence that you may not think is what you prefer as evidence, it doesn't mean that it's irrelevant, if that makes sense. Do we exercise folks that have that attitude from the field? Do we try to re-educate them? What do we do?
Re-education is probably preferable to pushing them out, because they're still going to keep doing what they've been doing.
Okay.
Whether we're going to associate with them or not.
Mm-hmm.
So re-education, people like your team members and my team, modeling behavior and sharing with other groups. I've shown you what I've got here, here, and here. And that's, you don't have to give me anything back if you don't want to. I'm sharing my knowledge with you. And maybe after a while, they'll start to see that that's really the way to be if we really want to be taken seriously and not just be looked at as a group of people that like to go out at night and run around with flashlights and scare themselves.
Agreed. Now, let's be in pretend world for just a moment, and we're getting close to reaching that goal. The next step is, how do we engage and have the scientific community embrace us? How do we reach that point? And can we do it through the concept of para-unity?
Absolutely, we can. And in the scientific world, you have the scientific method, and the conditions are the same, meeting the same results.
Right.
So in doing that, if we are actually keeping accurate records and looking at it as a science, we're going to look at things like the time of day, the time of year, the phases of the moon, barometric pressure, temperature, what specific techniques seem to work the best. So you want to have, so whoever goes into that venue or that site is going to get the same results. So you have 25 people going in, and you have 25 of the same, or at least very similar results.
I think you're finding now a lot of the new equipment is leaning in that direction. You're finding equipment that keeps track of all of those things, like the EDI meter.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Your barometric pressure, phases of the moon, all this stuff, and it prints it out in scientific format for you.
Well, would you guys agree then, at conferences such as the Treasure Coast Para-Unity Conference or similar ones throughout the country and the world, do you think we need to start training folks to use the same methods? I mean, there's different ways to conduct an interview, but still the format of an interview, and I'm talking from the criminal investigation side, my style might be different than your style in an interview, but the format is still going to be the same. Don't we need to start training people to use those types of techniques, that same format, in order to properly conduct an investigation with a scientific method. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And to do that, we're going to have to agree on what the uniformity is going to be. What questions do we need to ask? And
okay. How in the world are we going to get there? Do you think that we can reach the point where we did it in law enforcement? I mean, let's face it, law enforcement investigations, people's personal styles are different, but the formats are the same basically throughout the world for the most part. Can we do it in the paranormal field?
yes, I think you're talking about law enforcement. In education, we all have different ways of teaching too, but we're still teaching the same things. We still have the same benchmarks. So we're still arriving at the same goals, hopefully. Whether it's a lecture format or a game format, as long as we're reaching those same benchmarks. So I think we can do that in paranormal investigating as well.
Well, I sincerely hope that we can work towards that, and I'd like to see that sometime in my lifetime, because that's how I see the field going forward. And you know what? And I go back to the law enforcement field again. You got to go into an investigation not to come to the conclusion you want to come to, but the conclusion the evidence leads you to. And sometimes it means somebody's guilty, sometimes it's not. And we need to do it in this field too. We've all had our personal experiences, but we all must continue to investigate to prove or disprove, not just to prove what we want to. So anyway, that's my soapbox on that subject.
I totally agree with you.
Well, we got to take our next break, guys. I'm running up against the hard break here. So stay with us, folks. It's been a great conversation. We still got more to go. So stay with us, and we'll be back in just a few minutes after this short break.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Hey, folks, thanks for sticking with us. We're in our last segment tonight. It's been a terrific show with MaryJo Pfister and Greg Bush, co-founders of Off the Trail Paranormal Investigations in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Want you to visit their website at www.facebook.com/Treasure Coast Para-Unity Conference. And it would be the same, www.facebook.com/Off the Trails Paranormal for their own Facebook site. Also like you to visit my team at www.paranormalfbi.com to hear a little bit about our group and what we're doing to put together for this Para-Unity Conference. I'd also like you to take a moment, go to www.xzbn.net, check out all the terrific broadcast programs on the network. There's some terrific things out there that I know you'll enjoy. We've got some new programs on the network that I know you'll enjoy. MaryJo and Greg, let's talk a few minutes about what we're going to try and do in November. We've talked a lot tonight, or I've done a lot of talking on my beliefs in unity, where we need to go. This event come November will hopefully bring some of that together. Talk to me a little bit about some of the plans, some of the things that we've got going November 3rd through the 5th.
Well, I do hope that, yes, this will come together a little more at the conference, and every conference that we put together. We are hoping for the para-unity. We have quite a few different topics, as I've mentioned. The MUFON, the cryptozoology, cleansing, past life experiences.
Well, what about our main speaker? That there's a terrific individual that we all know and love that's going to be our main speaker, and who's that going to be?
Oh, I think you must be talking about Rob McConnell.
Yeah, I think that's the guy.
Radio and TV.
That's the guy.
Yes, he is our keynote speaker, and we are all looking forward to hearing him speak, as well as all the other people we have on our lineup.
Well, we've got some other things going too. We're going to actually give folks not only paranormal teams, but members of the public that are come. They're going to get an opportunity to actually experience paranormal investigation. Am I correct?
Right, and we're going to have members of your team and my team coming along with them to show them some correct methods and strategies so that we are educating the public on the right way to do paranormal investigations.
Outstanding.
And you have some great places up there in Fellesmere, very active paranormally, that we're going to be able to go in and explore and hopefully connect with some spirits.
Well, and that's the hope too, and we're going to welcome everybody to our area down here. But more important than the spirits, talk a little bit, take a few minutes to talk about some of our other guests. You mentioned MUFON, you talked about Rob Robinson. Give us a little more background on those individuals and what they're going to bring to the conference.
Well, yes, I mentioned Rob, the Legend Tripper, and the Enos will be coming, and their theory is that it's not so much ghosts as people in parallel universe. We're having Mary Strauss come and talk about past life, how we have, most of us, gone through several different lives. Sean Porter will be there and talk about some of the new technology and some of the changes that are being made in that.
And Sean Porter is who now?
Oh, he's the owner of Ghost Stop.
Okay.
So most of us have some of our equipment, if not almost all of it, from Sean.
Great tech guy, so that's going to be an important part of this.
Right. And Paul Mekis is going to be there, and he's going to be talking about the quantum physics part of paranormal. Bob Sanger is going to be there. He's going to be leading a panel discussion. We're going to have via Skype Chris Sutton, who is a shaman, and he's going to talk about that particular aspect. I mentioned the Yanceys will be there speaking of cleansing, and Gary Fisher's going to be there, and he's got his radio show of his own, and he's going to be there talking as a paranormal investigator as well.
Outstanding. And as I said, of course, our own Rob McConnell will be there, and we're really looking forward to what Rob's got to say.
Oh, yes, now, absolutely.
I want to go back a little bit. There's a new, I call it a new topic in the field, or a new direction in the field. And I've discussed it with different folks in our area, and that's that parallel universe theory that's really starting to take hold. Yeah. Talk about what we're going to discuss. What we're going to talk about a little bit on the with that guest speaker. Who's that going to be? That's going to discuss the parallel universe.
That's Paul and Ben Eno from I believe it's Rhode Island, and their theory is that there are many universes, but we're all very close on, I guess I would say, planes, and that sometimes one leads over to another, and so we may consider as a ghost is actually a person going through their daily life, but not in this world.
Okay, well, and because there's a lot of talk now about that, the Mandela effect. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not, Larry.
The Mandela effect is the dimensional thing, and it has to do with some people believing that Nelson Mandela, it started with folks having two different beliefs on the history with Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, and it has to do with those dimensions. It's kind of an interesting concept, and it talks about those parallel universes, and I was wondering if that speaker is going to discuss that issue at all. I just find that fascinating, but it also goes to show you that there are so many different thoughts about what it is we're dealing with out there. And that also goes back to my concern that we'll never be able to come to a consensus.
How about if it is two different entities? Maybe there are ghosts, as we've always thought, and maybe there is also this parallel dimension. Couldn't they both be valid?
The truth, yes, they could be, and that's one of the biggest problems. We don't know yet, but I guess that's a topic that I hope everybody will get a chance to come join us at the conference, and maybe we'll get closer to some of those answers, or being able to develop a little bit more of a theory on it.
That'd be great.
I think one of the most exciting things that we're going to have during the conference is the opportunity to get people, members of the public, out into the field and show them how we conduct business, how we properly conduct business.
Absolutely. And again, that's going towards the para-unity, because they will know what these pieces of equipment are and what they do and how to use them, rather than just buying something and wandering around and going, oh, look at the lights go on, but not really knowing what that means.
And
so
yes,
we're moving towards para-unity through education.
Education is everything. There's no question about that. In fact, I've spoken to several tech folks that have told me that most of the people that buy equipment do not even really understand the concepts or the theories behind how it works. They just, as you said, know that the lights come on and the buzzers go off. So
Right.
Part of our duty, our obligation, if you will, during these conferences is to help people understand that too. Would you agree?
Oh, it absolutely is our responsibility, so that if people are forming groups and going out to look for whether it's aliens or ghosts or whatever, that they at least know how to use the equipment that they're using to find some sort of valid results.
Well, looking forward to having everybody out there on November 3rd through the 5th in Fellesmere, Florida. But as we wrap up tonight, MaryJo, we've got about 2 minutes left. In your opinion, MaryJo and Greg, where do we go from here? Where is our field going to go from here?
Well, we're going to become a science, Larry, and we're all going to learn how to do the scientific method, and we're going to conduct our experiments according to that, and our results then will be authentic, valid, reliable, and people are going to begin to take us seriously.
Well, I think that your belief, I love your optimism, and I'm hoping that's where we end up going into the future. I think that is the only way we're going to move into the future, is if we can gain some consensus, we come together as a field and work together, and for lack of a better term, we experience paranormal unity. So,
Love that word.
So I wanted to thank both of you for being on the show tonight. It was a great show, a lot of good information, a lot of food for thought. I look forward to having you both back on in the future. Folks,
Good time.
good. Folks, appreciate you being with us tonight. And again, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in the southeastern part of Texas, Louisiana, those areas hit by Hurricane Harvey.
And
Let's
we
all
send our thoughts with yours, Larry.
thank you very much. So, folks, thank everybody for being with us tonight. If you can't be with us in November, stick with us on Paranormal Stakeout as we continue to examine the questions that we long to answer in the field of paranormal research and investigation. Folks, we'll see you next time on the other side. Thank you for joining us.